partakers of this truth and this light. Pray that, Lord, you may help us to receive it into our hearts, and that it may do its appointed work, that it may not return unto you void, Lord, but it may revive us and bring us close to you and help us to be like Jesus Christ. Be with us as we study, speak to us and through us in Jesus' name. Amen. So, good morning once more. We are continuing with our studies, looking at the King of the South, or maybe to put it this way, the parable of the King of the South. This narrative, this story, this natural story, which is going to teach us about the spiritual history taking place in our time. So I know this is a lot of history, and especially if you are hearing it for the first time, it's probably overwhelming. And even perhaps if you've been looking at it for a while, it's still a lot of information to absorb. So I don't expect people to absorb, especially those who are hearing it for the first time, to absorb all of this. At least what I'm hoping to do is to encourage people to go back and study for themselves. It takes time to understand these things. If you know some of Sister Doreen's studies, when she talks about the mind and axons, how that in order for you to be good at doing something, you need to keep on doing it time and time again. It doesn't happen in one day. So we need to go back, study these things for ourselves. And hopefully what we are doing at this camp will be some sort of foundation where people will be able to build on. And again, I want to say that this is a lot of information, and I'm not doing justice to this study. There is so much light in these things, and I'm probably just scratching the surface, leaving behind many details. I encourage everyone to go back and watch for themselves. If you remember what we were saying in the first lesson, how these things are salvational and how we need to understand them. Alright, so going back to our study now, we began with the number 273, which took us to a certain point in history, just after the conclusion of the Pyrrhic War, where the world begins to take note of Rome. Rome having defeated Pyrrhus, and Rome now controlling Italy supremely, with no one to contend with it. We showed how you can see this time period as a symbol of Peniam with the Sunday law, where the United States, the King of the North, defeats Pyrrhus or Russia, and begins to rise to this supreme dominance of the world. And saw that we put this between Peniam and Sunday laws. Because I remember from previous studies that it's at Peniam where the king of the south is defeated. So the point is this. Before Rome could reign supremely in Italy, before it could come up to the stage of action and be recognized by these other powers, it had to conquer Pirates. So in our history, when Rome comes back to the earth, the throne of the earth, before it can rule supremely, it needs to conquer Pirates. And we saw how Pirates in this history represented the south. Because Rome, sometime before, had conquered the north. And now it was fighting to conquer the south as well. So 273 and this history is the conclusion of his history. This is the conclusion of the history of Pirates. Where he finally falls and he is defeated. But we understood that his life doesn't begin here. His work or his ministry begins way back. And we saw that his history can teach us about the king of the south in our time. So we went on to talk about the history of Pirates, where he comes from. And we said this was in Daniel chapter 11 verse 4. Okay. Alright. I will try that. I'm not promising. Okay, I will try. So we said that this is the history of Daniel chapter 11 verse 4. Where we are told that there is this mighty king who stands up. And when he stands up, his kingdom will be broken. Broken to the four winds of heaven. This king is Alexander. And he dies in the year 323. And we know that when Alexander dies, he had many generals. They begin to fight for his kingdom. And when they fight, these wars are called the wars of the Diadochi. And there's four of them. There's four wars. And they culminate in the Battle of Ipsas in 301. Where finally the verse is fulfilled and his kingdom is divided into four. And we say that Cyrus is born around this time. And his family becomes involved with these wars. He's a relative of Alexander the Great. They are actually cousins. I think the mother of Alexander the Great, Olympias, or Alexandra, Olympias. Is it Olympias? Somebody remind me. Roxana was the wife. Roxana was Alexandra. I think it's Olympias. Yes, I think it's Olympias.
Olympias.
So that's Pyrrhus' cousin. So Pyrrhus' aunt.
Antika Pyrrhus.
So his family is involved with this. But he only comes to be involved around the third Doki War. Sorry, he becomes involved. Pyrrhus becomes involved. The fourth Doki War. So in the first and the second Doki Wars, you have a lot of generals. By the time you get to the third, you have 5 generals. And most important, the greatest of these generals, Antigonus. He is so powerful that 4 other generals decide to team up together to take him down. This is Ptolemy, Lysimachus, Cassander, and Seleucus. And they try to bring him down. But on the third Doki War, they fail. They end up settling for peace. And this is where we began this part. And we said, everyone, these 5 generals, they are pieces of territory. They had their pieces of territory. Cassander was in control of Greece and Macedonia. And he places a dictator in Athens. The handwriting. You know what? I think we're gonna have to forgive me for the handwriting. I'll just write. Maybe after the presentation you can come up here because I don't think I'm gonna be able to enlarge it enough to write everything. I wanted to bring the word down here so that perhaps people can see clearly. I don't know, how about that in our next presentation we put the word down here so that it can be closer to people. Okay, so I guess people are just going to come up here and have to take pictures or after the lesson. I'm really sorry. So he places this dictator then. And this is his business. But Demetrius, a son of Antigonus, in the year 307
BC,
he frees Athens.
Where are Athens? Athens.
And by so doing, he's interfering with Cassander's business. And this begins the 4th Doki War. And around this time, Demetrius married Pyrrhus' sister. And he entered into an alliance with Pyrrhus. And as this war begins and Antigonus and the 5 generals are going to go at it, Demetrius, his son, has someone supporting him. And this is Pyrrhus. They go on to fight the famous battle of Ipsas in 301.
BC.
Now in the battle of Ipsas, we said you had three allies.
Sithe sinezinto ezintathu.
3 allies against Antigonus,
Sinabantu abathathu abalwisana no-Antigonus.
together with his son.
Kanjalo nendodana yakhe u-Antigonus.
And Pyrrhus.
Kanjalo noPyrrhus naye ukhona khona la.
These 3 allies were Seleucus,
Laba lesikhuluma ngabo uSeleucus,
Cassandra,
uCassandra,
and Lysimachus.
noLysimachus.
You remember we said Ptolemy could not come to this battle.
Sithe uPtolemy akazange ukuthi eze kule mpi.
He was busy fighting in some other place.
Wayebhizi ele kwezinye indawo.
And as he tried to conclude that war and go and fight,
Nkathi-ke ele ezama ukuqeda le mpi bese eya kwenye.
he received information that they had lost the battle.
Uzwa umbiko ukuthi hayi sebesuliwe kule yampi.
And he ran away and went back to Egypt.
Waphendela emumva waye eGibhithe.
So you had 3 allies fighting against Antigonus, Demetrius, and Pyrrhus.
Nabantu abathathu alwa no-Antigonus noPyrrhus.
It's amazing how God controls these mysteries,
Kuyamangaza indlela uNkulunkulu alawula ngayo le mlando.
how He puts everything in order so that we at the end of the world can be benefited. How He puts everything in order so that we at the end of the world can be benefited.
Indlela ayibeka ngayo le mlando ukuze thina sizokwazi ukuzuza kwesikhathi sokuphela.
There is a quotation where Sister White says, "We are never absent in the mind of God."
Kunesicathulo la uDade White ethi asikaze sisuke emqondweni kaNkulunkulu.
Whenever these things are happening, God had us in mind
Nkathi lezi zinto zenzeka uNkulunkulu wakho sesikhona emqondweni wakhe
so that we could see and understand these things
ukuze sizozibona futhi siziqondisise kahle
and be safe.
futhi sisindiswe ngalokho.
So we spoke about how soon after this, how in this battle Ipsus,
Kule mpi yase-Ipsus
Antigonus is defeated
u-Antigonus uyanqotshwa
and he dies.
uyafa futhi.
And the empire is divided into 4 portions.
Then-ke umbuso lo uyahlukana-ke izigaba ezine.
Daniel 11 verse 4 is fulfilled.
Daniel 11 verse 4 yagcwaliseka ngalesi sikhathi.
And Cassandra has his territory.
uCassandra naye nezindawo zakhe aziphetheyo.
Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Lysimachus as well.
Bonke labazalwane nabo benza abaziphetheyo.
But soon after this, Cassandra dies.
Kodwa emveni kwalokhu uCassandra uyafa.
He leaves his children, he leaves his son to take over the throne.
Ushiya amadodana akhe ukube-ke athathe aphathe.
His son dies as well soon after.
Enye amadodana akhe iyafa emveni kwalokho.
And his 2 grandchildren are fighting for the throne.
Bese kuthi abazukulu bakhe nabo balwela ubukhosi.
And the other one decides to call Demetrius and Pyrrhus
Omunye wabazukulu ubiza-ke uDemetrius ukuthi-ke eze
to come and help him claim the throne.
azomlelela ukuthi-ke athathe ubukhosi.
And what happens is that Pyrrhus helps him.
Bese uPyrrhus naye amlekelele umzukulu.
He gets rewarded with territory.
Bese-ke mase emlekelele athole naye indawo yokuphatha.
He goes back to where Pyrrhus.
Aphindele-ke la emumva.
When Demetrius comes, everything is finished.
Uma uDemetrius eza yonke into isiphelisiwe.
And instead of going back where he came from, he decides that this is too good of an opportunity.
Those would be brothers.
Yes, the brothers Antipater and Alexander.
Or abobhuti-ke labo Antipater
Alexander.
no-Alexander.
So instead of going back home, he
Kunokuthi aphindele emumva.
he decides to take advantage of the situation.
Bese-ke athathe umnaqheba kule ndawo.
He ends up killing this son of Cassandra. He ends up killing the son of Cassandra
Bese-ke abulala indodana kaCassandra.
and taking the throne for himself.
Bese ethatha yena ubukhosi abenze bube ngobani.
Now he becomes king of Macedonia.
Bese-ke ebe yinkosi yaseMacedonia.
He is right next to Epirus.
Useduze noPyrrhus laphaya.
And Pyrrhus is not comfortable with this.
uPyrrhus-ke akathokozile neze ngento eyenzakalayo.
He wants some distance in between them.
Ufuna ukuthi kube khona uqhekeko phakathi kwabo.
They are allies, but you need space even with your allies.
Banobudlelwane kodwa-ke akafuni ukuthi-ke basondelane.
And there begins to be tensions between them.
Bese bakhona ungatholani kahle.
And by this time, Pyrrhus' sister had died.
Ngalesi sikhathi-ke udadewabo kaPyrrhus naye besefile.
So even their alliance was not going too well.
Umdlalo wabo-ke akuhambayo kahle ngaleyo ndlela futhi.
And Pyrrhus ends up invading
uPyrrhus-ke usuka lapho uyangenelela laphaya.
part of Demetrius' territory.
Enye ingxenye kaDemetrius lapha.
He invades their son.
ufake intesali or uyangenelela intesali.
And after invading Thessaly, Demetrius comes up to meet him,
Emveni kwengenelela intesali uDemetrius uyahlangana naye
but he runs away.
kodwa futhi emveni lokho besabaleka.
And Demetrius was busy with the war down here in Greece.
uDemetrius wayebhizi nempi laphaya eGreece.
He concludes that fight and goes on to take revenge.
Wayeqeda le yampi bese-ke eyophindiselela lapha.
And it's in the year 289 or 288.
Kuloya nyaka u-289 okanye 288.
He invades Epirus.
Uyangenelela e-Epirus.
I should write who are these people invade. Let me write who are these people who invade. This is Demetrius invading
uDemetrius lona ongenelelayo laphaya.
Epirus. Okay. Pyrrhus. I'm just going to summarize his name.
Ngizomamula nje amagama abo.
He invades
Uyangenelela lapha kuloya nyaka.
Thessaly.
Ungenela eThessali.
I hope I'm spelling that. Okay. So Thessaly is somewhere down here.
iThessali ngokwemephi yethu ilapha ya.
We said Demetrius was down here in Greece.
So uDemetrius wayelapha ya ngezansi eGreece.
So Pyrrhus comes in and invades Thessaly.
uPyrrhus uyangenelela lapha eThessali.
If you can keep this in your mind, he tries to cut off Demetrius from Macedonia.
Uma sangibeka emqondweni ukuthi uzama ungenelela lapha ya ususa yonke le yanto.
When we come to our time, we'll see that someone is cut off from something.
Uzobona besifasikhathi ukuthi khona uzama futhi ukuthi asuse okuthile.
Alright, so we say that Demetrius invades Epirus.
Sithi-ke ngaloya nyaka uDemetrius uyangenelela e-Epirus.
And what happens is that when Pyrrhus goes to meet Demetrius to fight,
Mangabe uPyrrhus Demetrius beyolwa,
apparently there was a mistake and the armies missed each other.
kwaba nephutha elikhona abantu abalwa impi baphambana.
So Pyrrhus ends up outside of his country
uPyrrhus-ke uphelela engaphandle kwezwe lakhe,
with Demetrius inside,
uDemetrius engaphakathi
and he just ravages the country.
wasevele ehlakaza izwe.
Even though Pyrrhus, they never fought,
Kahle hle kaze bende.
but Pyrrhus meets one of Demetrius' generals,
Kodwa uPyrrhus uhlangana nomunye wabaphuzi bempi bakaDemetrius.
and he has a small victory there.
Kunempi-ke encane lapha eqhubayo.
And we said after this they conclude peace.
Emveni kwalokhu-ke basukuba nokuthula.
They have a peace treaty. And after this peace treaty,
Emveni kwalokhu ukuthula abakukhandile,
Demetrius begins a military build-up.
uDemetrius-ke wakha impi-ke enkulu, wakha-ke impi enkulu kunale ekade ikhona.
And as the generals are watching and looking at him,
Abakhuzi bempi bembuka-ke bembona ukuthi wenzayo.
they begin to become nervous
Baqala baba novalo
because they remember his father
ngoba bakhumbula ubaba wakhe.
and how hard it was to defeat him.
Ngokunzima kanjani ukuhlula ubaba wakhe.
And they see that his son is beginning to have the same power.
Babona ukuthi-ke indodana ngathi inamandla kababa manje.
And Pyrrhus is his neighbor.
uPyrrhus-ke umakhelwane wakhe.
And
Sorry, you are translating Namagama for Balinese case. Impi enkulu or amabutho lawo.
a military build-up. Amabut, I think, it's armies. He was building a big army. Yes. Okay, so he's building this big army and he's making the other generals nervous,
Wakha-ke lempi enkulu wenza ukuthi abanye abakhuzi bempi babe novalo.
especially Pyrrhus because he's right next to him.
Kakhulukazi uPyrrhus useduze kwakhe.
So the other generals invite Pyrrhus to join them in fighting.
Abanye abakhuzi bempi-ke bamema kuPyrrhus ukuthi balwe noDemetrius.
And in 287, this fight takes place.
Unyaka 27 BC lempi yaqala-ke iyenzeka.
It's the allies, these allies together with pirates.
It's the allies that the pirates ndawonye
Against Demetrius.
balwa ke no Demetrius.
And they defeat Demetrius.
Bayamhlula uDemetrius.
Actually, it was only 2 people who were involved in this fight.
Kahle hle abantu ababili abengenele lempi.
Pyrrhus and Lysimachus.
Pirates noSamekoms.
Ptolemy and Seleucus didn't show up.
Uthole noSeleucus abazange befike.
And how they win this fight
Indlela abayona ngayo le yampi
is that they don't even fight.
into ukuthi azange beze belwe.
Because Demetrius' army disliked him so much
Ngoba uDemetrius impi yakhe ayizange imthande.
that when the 2 armies came from the west and the east,
Ngenkathi impi isuka empumalanga nasenyakatho nasentshonalanga.
his people deserted.
Abantu bakhe ke bamlahla, bamdayisa.
So Pyrrhus was coming from the west. Pyrrhus came from the west,
UPyrrhus ke ukhamba ke entshonalanga.
and Lysimachus was coming from the east.
ULysimachus yena uphuma empumalanga.
And they defeat Demetrius.
Bamhlula uDemetrius.
And afterwards they divide Macedonia in between them.
Emveni kwalokho ke yahlukana phakathi eMacedonia.
And now Pyrrhus has a new problem.
UPyrrhus ke unenkinga entsha manje.
He has a new enemy.
Unesithe esisha.
He gets now into tensions with Lysimachus.
Uba nokungazwana okukhona phakathi kwakhe noLysimachus.
And Lysimachus is not satisfied sharing half of this territory.
uLysimachus akathokozile ukuthi baphethe ndawonye eMacedonia.
He wants all of it.
Uyifuna yonke.
And he begins to use disinformation,
Uqala ke uletha ke ulwazi olungamanga.
subterfuge, misinformation.
Uletha ke ulwazi ongeyilo.
And he uses Cold War tactics
Usebenzisa ke impi ukuthi ke kungali yena ngqo.
to make Pyrrhus lose his influence in this area.
Ukuze ke uPyrrhus ahlule angayitholi indawo.
And he gets the people to revolt against Pyrrhus
Uthola abantu ke abazolwisa uPyrrhus
and to cast him out.
bese bamsusa ngabe uye.
And at the end, Pyrrhus ends up losing his portion of Macedonia.
Egcineni ke uPyrrhus uyalahlekelwa ingxenye ethile yaseMacedonia.
And he loses all that he had gained.
Futhi walahlekelwa yikho konke ke ayesekwakhile umnotho kuye.
So that's the history we covered.
Umlando esikhulume ngawo loya.
We saw how Pyrrhus' attempts to build his empire
Sibone ukuthi uPyrrhus wenze kanjani ukuthi akhe umbuso wakhe.
come to a conclusion, a failure in that point.
Aphinde futhi ke angaphumeleli kulesakhe sasikhathi.
And now we want to, this was the history of Pyrrhus in Macedonia.
Lokumlando kaPyrrhus loya eMacedonia.
And now we want to go to this point, the history of Pyrrhus in Italy.
Sifuna manje ke umlando kaPyrrhus ke eItaly.
We call this the actual history of Pyrrhus.
Sisikelela ke isiqalo somlando kaPyrrhus.
And in Italy we'll call it the Omega.
Lana ke manje umlando waseItaly sithi ke isigcino. Okanye isiphetho.
Okay. Is that okay with everyone?
In 287, the allies are who and who joined with Pyrrhus.
Unyaka 27.
The allies. The allies are Seleucus, Lysimachus, and Ptolemy. Cassander had died.
uCassandra sasifile so uSeleucus noLysimachus ibona bakhona.
But Ptolemy and Seleucus don't come physically to the war.
Ptolemy noSeleucus abezi ndawonye balwe nje.
They are in support of the war, but it's actually Lysimachus who shows up.
Bayixhasa impi kodwa ke uLysimachus ofika empini.
The other two didn't show up.
Abantu abanye babili abafikanga empini.
Alright. So we want to continue and look at Pyrrhus' history in Macedonia now. In Italy.
Sifuna ukubuka umlando waseMacedonia eItaly.
How much time do I have?
30. 30.
So the history of piracy in Italy begins in 285.
Umlando kaPyrrhus eItaly uqala ngonyaka 285.
It's the same year that he's defeated by Lysimachus.
Unyaka ofanayo la hlulwa ngawo uLysimachus.
What happens? Maybe let's describe this scenario.
Mhlambe asicacise lokhu sibhale la.
This is where Rome was beginning to increase in power.
Lapho na ke iRome esiqala khona ukudlobala ngamandla.
And it had conquered the north of Italy.
Yayisinqobile iningizimu yase-Italy.
But the south was under the control of this Greek city-state Tarentum.
Kodwa ke iningizimu yona engaphansi kombuso wasedolobha iTarentum.
They were all free states,
Bonke babeyizizwe ezikhululekile.
but Tarentum was the most powerful
Kodwa iTarentum yona inamandla kakhulu.
and most influential.
Futhi yona inomthelela.
And as Rome began to expand,
Uma ngabe iRome iqhubeleka iyanda,
it began to threaten Tarentum.
yaqala manje ke yasabisa leyo ndawo abangezansi.
And a long time ago,
Kude le emumva
Rome had made a treaty with Tarentum. Rome had made a treaty with Tarentum
iRome yenza ke ubudlelwano neTarentum
that it wouldn't interfere in affairs down here.
owenza isivumelwano sokuthi ngeke ize ngenelele ey'ndabeni zabo.
Specifically, that it would never bring in soldiers in this place.
Kakhulukazi ukuthi ngeke ilethe abakhuzi bepi bayo kuleya ndawo.
Its ships in the Gulf of Tarentum.
Nemkhumbi yawo futhi nayo ngokunjalo.
So one of the city-states in this place
Enye ke abaphathi bedolobha kuleya ndawo
was having an internal struggle.
wayenenkinga yangaphakathi.
This is the Greek city-state of Thuri. This is the Greek city-state of Thuri.
Idolobha elikhulu laseTuri.
And in Thuri there were two opposing sides.
eTuri ke kakunabantu ababili abephikisana.
The aristocrats. Someone help me to spell
Ngisiza labazalwane
STO. Yeah, should be. Is that correct? Okay, thanks. And the Democrats.
Kukhona ke aristocrats, kukhona ke democrats leya ndawo.
Now, the aristocrats are those people who are wealthy,
Ama-aristocrats abantu ke abanomnotho abacebile,
business people.
abantu ke bamabhizinisi labo.
And the Democrats are more traditional people.
Kanti ke ama-democrats bona ke abantu abathanda kakhulu amasiko.
There was a struggle between them over who to choose between Rome and Tarentum.
Kwakunenkinga ukuthi ke ubani kufuneka akhethe phakathi kwabo.
The Democrats wanted to ally with Tarentum
Ama-democrats afuna ke ukuhlangana nama-Tarentum
because they are Greeks, it's their family, and they've always allied with Tarentum.
ngoba ke bawumndeni hlezi bedlelana nama-Tarentum.
But the aristocrats wanted to ally with Rome,
Kodwa ke i-aristocrats ifuna ukuthi ke ihlangane neRome.
seeing more advantages in Rome.
Ibona ukuthi ngathi ukuhamba kahle eRome.
And there is this battle in Thuri.
Futhi ke kunalempi ekhona eTuri.
The aristocrats win,
Ama-aristocrats ayanqoba.
and they end up going to Rome to seek aid.
Base behamba ke baye eRome ofuna ke usizo.
Thuri was under pressure from other tribes around it at this time.
iTuri ke esikaba nengcindezi eyikhona leso sikhathi.
So they end up deciding to call Rome for help.
Base bethi ke asicele iRome ukuba isilekelele.
And the Romans were more than happy to come and interfere here.
iRome yasijabula kakhulu ukuthi ke ibasize balekelele.
And as Tarentum begins to see this, they are offended.
Abantu baseTarentum basebona lokhu base baphatha kabi lokho.
And they eventually attack this city.
Base beqala ke bahlasela idolobha laseTuri.
They expel the Romans.
Bayasusa ke amaRoma khona lapha.
And that's what begins this war between Rome and Tarentum.
Into ke yaqala ke impi phakathi kweRome neTarentum.
And that is why Tarentum sees that they can't fight this war for themselves.
Mase bebona uTarentum awazi ukuthi bazinqobelele bona lempi.
They call their famous neighbor Pyrrhus of Epirus.
Mase bebiza ke umakhelwane wabo ke odumile ke uEpapyrus.
Pyrrhus.
uPyrrhus.
and he comes in to help them.
Bese-ke yafika abalekelele.
So it's in 285 that Turi appeals to Rome.
Ngonyaka u-25-ke iTuri ifike ibonakala eRome.
It actually appealed to Rome 2 times.
Iyafika-ke iyaqoqa uRome kabili.
This was the first time.
Lokhu-ke kwangokokuqala.
And the second time was in the year 282.
Uma sifika kwesibili, ifika ngonyaka u-282.
And when they do this for the second time,
Uma ngabe-ke sebevakasha okwesibili,
going to ask of aid of Rome,
becela-ke usizo eRome.
this is where Tarentum attacks them.
Ilapho-ke uTarentum-ke bahlasela manje.
And because of this, the Romans declared war with Tarentum, as we said.
Ngenxa yalokho-ke iRome yasisuke sifuna impi
And
emashilo.
Tarentum called Pyrrhus to their aid.
uTarentum uthola-ke usizo.
And in the year 280,
Unyaka-ke u-280 BC,
Pyrrhus gets to Tarentum.
uPyrrhus-ke uya kuTarentum.
I just remember the point.
Kodwa iphuze engikhumbulayo.
A brother was telling me to tell people that it takes time. Okay, a brother was telling me to explain this.
Omunye umzalwane ungizele ukuthi-ke angichaze lokhu.
That this was ancient warfare.
Kodwa-ke yipi-ke eyakamuva.
It took time for soldiers to travel.
Kwakuthatha isikhathi ukuthi-ke amasosha afikelele empini.
It wasn't that simple that you could declare war today and fight today.
Kwangelula ukuthi sithi impi ayibize manje besiqala manje.
It took years sometimes.
Kwakuthatha iminyaka isikhathi.
So that's why you might see it's 282 when this war begins.
Ingakho sibona u-22 lapho na impi iqala khona.
But he only comes 2 years later.
Kodwa uze emva kweminyaka emibili elandelayo.
So Pyrrhus gets to Tarentum.
uPyrrhus-ke ungena ufikelela eTarentum.
And he begins preparing for war.
Uyaqala-ke ulungiselela impi manje.
He takes control of Tarentum.
Ulawula-ke iTarentum ngaleso sikhathi.
He becomes some sort of dictator.
Uba-ke umuntu-ke onzobe kayiphikiswa okanye-ke ongaphikiseki.
And apparently the people of Tarentum were not really happy.
Abantu-ke baseTarentum bebengathokozile ngalokho.
They expected Pyrrhus to come in and fight for them.
Balindele ukuthi uPyrrhus-ke eze abalwele bona.
They were not thinking that he would force them to fight.
Babalindele ukuthi uzobaphoqa ukuthi alwe.
So Pyrrhus had to prepare them by force.
uPyrrhus kufanele ukuthi abalungiselele ngenkani.
So we want to take note of that.
Kufanele sikuthathe lokho sikufake emakhanda.
The same year that Pyrrhus got to Tarentum,
Unyaka ufanayo-ke uPyrrhus eya laphaya.
before he finishes his preparations,
Ngaphambi ukuthi aqede konke akulungisayo.
Rome begins to march on Tarentum.
Iyaqala iRome ibheke khona eTarentum.
And he is forced into this war, this battle, I mean. He's forced into this battle.
Uyaphoqeleka ukuthi-ke alwe kule mpi.
And he meets the Romans in a place called Heraclea.
Uhlangana-ke namaRome endaweni kuthiwa-ke
Heraclea.
iHeraclea.
And this is where Pyrrhus and the Romans fight for the first time.
Ilakhona-ke uPyrrhus neRome belwa khona okokuqala.
This was a small battle because they were not really prepared.
Okuyimpi-ke encane ngoba-ke babengakulungiselele kulwa kwabo.
And Pyrrhus defeats the Romans.
uPyrrhus-ke wahlula amaRoma.
And the main reason why he wins
Isizathu sokuthi-ke kahle awine
is because Pyrrhus had brought elephants from Greece.
Yingoba-ke uPyrrhus ulethe izindlovu laphaya eGreece.
And this was the first time that the Romans had seen elephants.
Bangokuqala ukuthi amaRoma abone ibutho lendlovu.
So when they see these creatures,
Mabebona lezi zilwane eziningi kanje,
the soldiers are unable to fight, and Pyrrhus is able to defeat them.
amasosha akwazi ukuthi alwisane lezi ndlovu ngoba kuyinto yokuqala yenzeka kubo.
So his elephants win this battle for him.
So indlovu zakhe ziyanqoba leyo.
And he begins to continue to push against the Romans.
Uyaqhubeleka uyawahlehlisa amaRoma, uyawasusela kude.
And in the year 279,
Ngonyaka u279
Pyrrhus a bit more prepared now.
uPyrrhus manje sezilungiselele kakhulu nakuqala.
When Pyrrhus got to Italy,
Uma uPyrrhus efika eItaly,
he was supposed to be having allies and people who were going to help him with this war.
kwafanele nabantu azohlangana nabo umlekelele ukuthi kunqotshwe impi.
But some of them decided to stand back.
Abanye babathi hayi baba ngaceleni bathi abazoyiphinda indaba yethu.
They did not trust this issue.
Abazange beyithembe yonke lento eyenzakalayo.
So they wanted to see how things were going to work out.
Befuna ukubona ukuthi izosebenza kanjani izinto sisibekele eceleni.
And so when they see Pyrrhus defeating the Romans,
Bayibona uPyrrhus ehlule iRome,
they were encouraged and they began to join him.
baqala bakhuthazeka ukuthi hayi asimjoyine lo muntu.
And by the time we get to 279,
Uma ufika kunyaka u279
he is now having a greater army and much more prepared.
usenebutho elikhulu futhi ke uselungisele kakhulu ukuthi ayolwa.
And not just Pyrrhus,
Hayi kuphela uPyrrhus.
but even the Romans were much more prepared for this battle.
NamaRoma nawo njalo ayilungiselele ukuthi ayolwa noPyrrhus.
They had been terrified by the elephant.
Bathi bemangele indaba yendlovu le.
And in this second battle, they bring something to counter the elephants.
Kwimpi yesibili sebekulungele ukuthi sizozinqoba kanjani lezi ndlovu
They
ezihlule.
make anti-elephant carts. They make carts to fight the elephants.
Benza okuthile ukuthi benza izinqola zokuthi bahlule izindlovu.
And so both of them are much more prepared for this battle.
Bobabili abantu sebekulungele ukuthi bangahlangana nabantu.
And in 279, Pyrrhus marches on them.
Ngonyaka u279 Pyrrhus uyahamba uyabaqonda ngqo.
And they meet at a place called Ascula.
Bahlangana endaweni ekuthiwa ke-Ascula.
And this is a longer battle.
Impi ke lena isikhathi eside.
It takes 2 days.
Yathi insuku ezimbili.
And in ancient warfare, this is not normal.
Kwimpi ke yakamuva yakudala akukho okujwayelekile lokhu.
Battles are not supposed to take this long.
Izimba ithatha isikhathi eside.
So my brother, what happens in 280 is Pyrrhus won when he was fighting against Rome.
Yes, Pyrrhus won against the Romans because of his elephants.
uPyrrhus wawina ngenxa yezindlovu azilethayo.
Why he had to go back to fight again?
Oh, he won the battle, but he did not win the war. He did not conquer the Romans.
Akanqobanga ngoko amaRoma kodwa wayenqoba impi.
They went back, replenished their armies.
Babele emumva baziqoqa bahlanganisa kabusha.
They made some more preparations and then they came back again.
Balungiselela baphinde baqonda khona.
So this next battle is much bigger.
Lempi yesibili ke inkulu kakhulu yona.
And again, they fight a fierce battle. They fight a fierce battle.
Balo ke impi ke enokwesaba.
And when Pyrrhus sees that things are not going too well,
Uma uPyrrhus ebona ukuthi izinto ngathi azihambi kahle ngendlela abahlele ngayo.
he sends his elephants forth.
Uthumela futhi ke izindlovu zakhe phambili.
And despite the efforts of the Romans,
Ngale ukuthi ke iRoma
despite the efforts of the Romans,
ngale ukuthi ke imizamo yeRoma eyenzayo.
they were overwhelmed and Pyrrhus was victorious.
Ngale kwemizamo iRoma eyenzayo kodwa uPyrrhus waqhubeka wawina wanqoba.
But even though he had won this battle,
Yize wayenqobile lempi
it was too much loss. It was too much loss to himself.
kodwa futhi yayibuhlula kwakuye.
And this is where the term Pyrrhic victory comes from.
Ilapho la igama elithi Pyrrhic victory liqhamuka khona.
The term Pyrrhic victory is used to explain a situation where someone wins but at too great of a cost.
La igama leli lichaza ukuthi ke la khona umuntu enqoba impi kodwa futhi engathokozi ngokuthi ayinqobe.
He had won, but it was too costly to himself.
Uyanqoba impi kodwa ke yabe ibiza kakhulu kuye.
He even speaks with, he tells one of his generals that if we win one more war like this, we'll be ruined.
Utshela ke omunye wabakhuzi bemfuthi uma siwina enye lezimpi kuzophela ngathi.
And this is what led him to get into an armistice, a peace treaty with Rome.
Ilapho na ke wasefika isigaba sokuthi ke abe nobudlelwano neRome.
The Romans, because they were defeated, of course, they wanted some more time to go back and prepare. And because Pyrrhus had also suffered much loss, he also wanted some time to go back and replenish his armies. So they agreed to stop fighting for a time. And it's during this time that Pyrrhus comes to this place called Sicily. He sails over from Tarentum to Sicily. He sails to Sicily. And he had been invited by these people here to help them against Carthage. Carthage was troubling the Sicilians. And they called Pyrrhus to remove Carthage for them. He's more than happy to run away from this and come here. And the other reason was because he expanded his plans at this point. He saw that he didn't have enough resources to defeat Rome. So he decides that I'll go to Sicily, and when I get here I will build myself a navy. To be cool. And I'll take these ships and I'll go on to conquer Carthage. And then after conquering Carthage, I'll amass a great army there. I'll take this army, sail it over to Asia. I will conquer the allies Ptolemy, Seleucus, and Lysimachus. And come back and conquer Macedonia. And having conquered all of that territory, and then come back to conquer the Romans. So that's his idea as he goes to Sicily. He wants to do a full round 10. And when he gets to Sicily, he drives out the Carthaginians. He does what he was called to do. But after that, he begins trying to implement his plans. And the people are not going along with his plans. So he has to force these people to build him ships and to get him this money. He begins killing their leaders who are rebelling against him, torturing people and doing really bad things. Essentially, he becomes a dictator this time. And the Sicilians look at him and they think, we call this guy to help us against a dictatorship by the Carthaginians. And now he's worse than the Carthaginians. So they go to the Carthaginians and they call them to remove Pyrrhus. And as Pyrrhus sees that things are not working out in Sicily, he goes to a temple. He goes to a temple. There was this pagan temple in Sicily. And this temple had a lot of riches in it. So Pyrrhus ends up taking the decision that he will rob that temple.
Usathatha isinqumo sokuthi uPyrrhus ke ngizothatha ngenkani le thempeli.
He will desecrate this temple.
Uzothatha yonke into.
Goes in, he takes in the riches from that temple,
Uthatha wonke umcebo okhona le thempeli.
puts them in ships,
Uyifaka emkhumbini.
and he sails to Tarentum.
Uyahamba uye endaweni eseTarentum.
Another reason was that the Romans were beginning to march against Tarentum. They were coming back.
Isizathu ukuthi amaRoma ayeseqalile eza eTarentum sebuyela manje.
So he desecrates this temple and he tries to flee with the riches.
Uthatha yonke into ke uphindela nayo emuva.
And what happens is that as he's sailing to Tarentum,
Njengoba kwenzeka lokho ke ezeqhubeleka eya khona.
The ships are hit by a storm.
Umkhumbi lena ke ithathwa izivunguvungu.
And they lose all of that money they had won from this
Wonke
temple.
la mcebo ukhona emkhunjini uyahlakazeka.
And this makes Pyrrhus really afraid,
Kwenza lokho ukuthi Pyrrhus ke asabe athuthumele.
because he believes that the god of that temple he had robbed is judging him.
Ngoba kufanele ukuthi uNkulunkulu lo thempeli uyabahlela ngalokho okwenzakalayo.
And from this time onward, he just sees his life filled with bad luck.
Ngaleso sikhathi ubona impilo yakhe ngathi ke inamabhadi ayiphumeleli.
And he goes on to meet the Romans.
Uyahamba uhlangana nabaseRoma.
And it's in 275 that he fights with them.
Unyaka u-275 lapho na elwa khona namaRoma.
And he meets them at a place called Beneventum.
Uhlangana nabo endaweni ekuthiwa ngeseBeneventum.
It's interesting the meaning of the word Beneventum.
Liyathuthukisa le incazelo igama elithi Beneventum.
It means a bad omen or bad luck. I know I'm not defining it correctly.
Ngiyazi ukuthi ayichasisi kahle kodwa lisho nje umuntu omubi ongenzi kahle.
Yes, it means something like bad luck.
Isho ke ungabi nayo inhlanhla. Okanye ukuphumelela.
So he goes on and he fights with the Romans.
Uyahamba uPyrrhus yolwa namaRoma.
And again, he releases his elephant.
Udedela indlovu zakhe futhi.
And as the battle is going on,
Uma iqhubeleka impi isiyenzeka,
for some reason, this time his elephants turn back and they charge on him.
ngendlela Okay, ngendlela thizeni indlovu zakhe ziyamjikela.
I think the Malaventum is the badge and the Beneventum is the root.
Oh, thank you. Yes. Sorry, Beneventum means good luck.
iBeneventum isho ke inhlanhla,
But it comes, originally the town was called Meleventum.
kodwa ngokusuka kwakho idolobha lalibizwa ngokuthi ke iBeneventum.
And when the Romans won this war against Pyrrhus here,
Uma ngabe amaRoma elwa impi enqoba uPyrrhus,
they decided to call it Beneventum, or
base beqamba ukuthi ke iBeneventum.
something that means good.
Into ke enhle.
So yes, the original word, the name of that place was Meleventum.
So igama ekuyilona lona ke iBeneventum.
Thank you. So Pyrrhus is in this battle. His elephants, instead of helping him, they actually lose him the battle.
Kule yakhe leyana indlovu zikaPyrrhus kunokuthi zimlekelele ziyamjikela manje.
For some reason, they turn and they charge on his soldiers.
Ngazathu kuthile ziyamjikela ziyilwa manje nabakhuzi bempi.
And Pyrrhus is defeated in Italy.
Ngaleyo ndlela uPyrrhus uyanqotshwa e-Italy.
And he runs away and goes back to Greece.
Mayibona ukuthi uyahlula uyabaleka uphindele eGreece.
And this is where the Romans begin to become great.
Ila khona ke amaRoma eqala kuba ke isizwe esikhulu esihlonishwayo.
This is this point we were talking about.
Leli phuzu esikhuluma ngalo.
When the Romans defeat Pyrrhus.
Uma ke amaRoma ehlula uPyrrhus.
And the Egyptians are gonna send their congratulations and they're gonna begin a relationship with the Romans in the year 273.
AmaGibhithe la khona azobongela khona ukuthi siyabongela lapho kuzoqala khona impi ngonyaka u273.
Rome begins to take control of all of this area.
AmaRoma aqala alawula yonke leya ndawo leya.
even though they controlled this area, the city of Tirentam did not surrender until 272.
yize beyilawula yonke leyo ndawo kodwa lela dolobha bona alizange zifuna ukwamukela ukuthi sebeyisinto esibenzakalayo.
It's after a few years that they actually fall.
Iminyaka nje embalwa emveni ukuthi bawe.
And it's in the same year that Pyrrhus dies.
Unyaka ofanayo la khona uPyrrhus efa khona.
And when you look at what happened to Pyrrhus, how did he die?
Mobuka indlela uPyrrhus afa ngayo.
He was, I believe, fighting somewhere in Argos.
Ngiyakholelwa ukuthi wayelwa ndawo thizeni eArgos.
And as they were fighting,
Njengalokhu beqhubeka bedwa,
they come into the city Argos with his soldiers.
baqhamuka edolobheni namabutho akhe.
And when Pyrrhus gets in there, he realizes that he made a mistake.
Uma uPyrrhus engena lapha yabona ukuthi khona iphutha lenzile.
They shouldn't have gone in there.
Akumelanga ukuba bangenile lapha.
And he tells one of his generals that we need to get out of the city.
Utshela omunye umbuzo webanga ukuthi hayi kumele siphume la.
And this general, because of the commotion, I think, doesn't understand Pyrrhus well.
Ngenxa yokuthi ke ngenxa yesikhundla enaso akamqondisisi kahle uPyrrhus ukuthi uthini.
He misinterprets the message and he thinks that Pyrrhus is telling everyone to come into the city.
Akayiqondisisi kahle umyalezo uqonda ukuthi uPyrrhus abangene.
So they actually bring in everyone into the city and they bring in the elephants as well.
Umkhuzi wempi ke uletha wonke amabutho uletha nendlovu ngokunjalo.
And these elephants block the way so that as Pyrrhus tries to leave, he can't.
Lezi ndlovu zivimba indlela ngathi uPyrrhus eza akakwazi ukudlulela.
It ends up being a very messy battle.
Ugcina kube yimpi nje engahlelekile engaqondakali.
People fighting everywhere.
La abantu belwa khona isinomi kanjani.
And Pyrrhus is somewhere there fighting with this soldier,
uPyrrhus ukhona lapha uzamukula namasosha.
hand to hand.
Izandla ngezandla.
And apparently, the soldier's mother was looking over on the roof.
Umama wamasosha wayemile phezulu ebuka okwenzakalayo.
And as she sees her son fighting with Pyrrhus,
Ubuka indodana yakhe kilo noPyrrhus.
she begins picking up roof tiles and throwing them at Pyrrhus.
Uyaqala ukuthatha amathayela manje uyaphosa kuloko.
And one of them hits Pyrrhus on the head.
Elinye lawo liphosayo lashaya uPyrrhus ekhanda.
And I don't know if he collapsed, but he fell and the soldier killed him.
Angazi uma kodwa khona wagcina isosha leli kwazi ukuthi umbulale uPyrrhus.
So that's how Pyrrhus dies in the streets of Argos.
Indlela le uPyrrhus afa ngayo emgwaqeni emadolobheni lase
We had said that Argos is associated with harvest.
Sitheke iArgos ihambelana ke nesivuno.
But one thing to note here is that Pyrrhus is killed by his own elephant.
Bese kuqonda ukuthi uPyrrhus ubulawa yindlovu zakhe.
Actually, he dies because of his elephants.
Uyafa ngenxa yezindlovu zakhe.
Because they blocked his escape.
Ngoba ke zavimba indlela yokulwa.
So this is the history of Pyrrhus.
Umlando lona kaPyrrhus.
It comes in these two. His history is in two histories.
Umlando wakhe umlando emibili, Alpha no Omega.
Yes, the Alpha and the Omega. So next time when we come back,
Uma sesibuya ngokulandelayo,
we'll then start making application.
sizoqala manje ngesibuya sibuye besiqonda ukuthini ngalokho esifundayo.
Remember, we said this is a parable.
Khumbula sithelela umfanekiso lo.
This is the natural.
Imvelo le.
Now we want to see what this means for us
Sifuna ukuthi ukuthini ke konke esifundayo ngesikhathi sethu.
and what is the spiritual.
Ukuthini futhi kwezamoya.
So for now we'll leave it here and we'll close in prayer.
Ngoba manje sizoba la sikhuleke.
Our Father in heaven, thank you, Lord, for these wonderful truths. Lord, it's true that when we look at history, we are able to see your hand guiding and controlling all of these affairs. And Lord, help us indeed that this may not just be intellectual stimulation, but actually that, Lord, we may see the importance of these things, that, Lord, they may actually reach our hearts and lead us to a closer union with you. Help us to be much more prepared for the crisis and all that's about to take place. Lord, help us, because sometimes it's hard to understand these things. Give us wisdom and grace, and be with us as we continue with our lessons, as we continue with our day. In Jesus we pray. Amen.